I recorded my quarterly recap number 3 right before leaving for my vacation in October. I recorded it, I want to say twice or maybe even 3 times, but that was without realizing that my phone was out of storage, so it didn't actually record anything. And my flaw in all of this was not, checking every now and then if it was still recording. So today I've set up my phone to be able to see the little red timer, but not the screen because that is too distracting. So with that said, Happy New Year, because this is most likely getting published first week of Jan. I still have 2 vacation vlogs to post. I still have basically the Portugal portion, which will be posted I think sooner than later, just because I took my sweet time with the other cities, and I don't want this to drag on till February, so it'll get posted probably after this. And so let's start. Basically because this has been like, it's been 6 months since the quarterly recap number 3. Well, what I mean is, it's been 6 months since the books I've read that were meant to be talked about in quarterly recap number 3. So I don't remember all the details that I wanted to talk about necessarily when I was recording in October. So I've got my Goodreads here, and for some of these there's no review, which isn't really helping, and for some there is. I obviously remember all of these, I just don't remember if I wanted to talk about something specific. I have the pile of books right here in front of me. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 physical books, and I believe 8, if I counted properly, books on my Kobo. So let's start with this one that I read in April, which I don't think should be part of this video. The thing is, I don't remember what was in the quarterly recap number 2. I took a look. The last book I talked about was The Fall by Albert Camus. Maybe I talked about Why I Write by George Orwell. I feel like I did. Let's take a break, check my video, and I'll be back. Okay, so I did talk about Why I Write by George Orwell, so we can skip that, which is great. So we're at 7 on the Kobo, and the first one isn't a digital ebook. It is, wow, I read nothing in May. That's crazy to me. Wow. Okay, anyways, 12 Angry Men by Reginald Rose. This is really short. It's a play. I feel like most people have seen the movie. It is literally a 1-to-1 to the film. There's not much to say about this. It's a perfect play, I think. If you're into themes such as, racism, stereotypes, politics, this is just a mix of everything, and you add in a little like suspense element with the main plot, which is a murder. But I really enjoyed this. It's super quick, obviously, to read, so if you're trying to hit that goal, you can sneak this one in. And I don't really have anything else to say on this, to be honest, and if I did, well, it's long forgotten. So let me put this aside. The next book I read, wow, this one has cat hair all over it. I have my books on the floor because I'm out of space in this studio apartment. It's too small. So my next book that I read I started it in May. I just didn't finish it in May. I finished it end of June. Is Billy Summers by Stephen King, which is, a story about this hitman that is ordered to kill this one bad guy, and it kind of unfolds this whole story about like who requested this kill, and there's a bunch of things happening. There's no like supernatural elements to this one, except for this like super subplot that doesn't really bring you anywhere, but it's entertaining nonetheless. I think this is my first official Stephen King. I mean, I've read him before, I just never finished the book I had read of his before, which was Under the Dome, and that was like, whew, I was a tween, so I just count this as my first one, and I think I gave it 4 stars. Yeah, 4 stars. It's good. It's not great, but it's good. The next book. Sorry for sighing. This is the next book. I have a whole video about Kuang and what I think about her as an author, and I don't want to bring this into this video. This is the next book I read. I gave it 2 stars, and if you want to find out, well, you can go see my other video. The next book I read is by George Orwell. It's called A Clergyman's Daughter, and this one I wrote a little review, so I'll just read that. It's nothing special. It's literally 3 sentences. Lots of important themes discussed in this novel: religion, poverty, social class, capitalism and exploitation, homelessness, a bunch of good stuff that interests me. And I'm based off what I wrote here, I did find this a little boring, but to be honest, over the past few months, oh my god, my cat is eating rope. Whatever. I have been thinking about this on and off just because it is kind of memorable in a way. In its boringness, it is memorable. It's kind of like 1994. It's not very, action-packed or anything, but it is memorable. So I would recommend. It's very wintry. So this is, I would say, a very wintry read. If you're looking for something political and challenging, not in the sense that it's hard to read, but you have to think a little, I recommend. And I love George Orwell, so really anything by him I probably would recommend, even though I haven't read all his novels. The Idiot by Dostoevsky. I remember when I recorded my 3rd quarterly recap, when I think I recorded my 3rd quarterly recap, I had a lot to say about this, and since this was so the opposite of this, as in it's not memorable for me, I don't remember what I was saying at all about this, but long story short, this took me March 12th till August 26th to read. It took me forever. I actually only read maybe a third of this and finished it with the audiobook that I found on Spotify for free. Wasn't very good. Wasn't even the same translation, but I just could not get into this Michigan character. If you hear noises, it's my cat. One of them, at least. He's playing. I just could not get into this character. Like, it just wasn't. I love Dostoevsky. I love his themes. I love the way he writes. I love everything. I just didn't care about this character and the surrounding characters, and just couldn't care. I couldn't care, and that's okay. That's okay. You're not gonna like everything by your top authors. It's not possible, I don't think, and I'm glad I read it. But for people to say this is above Crime and Punishment, I don't know. I still think about Crime and Punishment, and I don't think about The Idiot ever. So the next one I read should be here somewhere. Unless I deleted it. Oh, it's here. Let's see if there's a cover for it. There is. So this was a book club read with my friends. Appointment with Death by Agatha Christie, and this was okay. Nothing really to talk about this. It's just the story of like this family that's in Egypt with this other family, I think, and the grandma or the mother dies, and Hercule Poirot shows up, and he's like, and then he figures out who killed who and why, and yeah, classic little Hercule Poirot story. My next read, we're now in August, so this would have been the last one in my quarterly recap number 3, I believe, is Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin. I enjoyed this. I gave it 4 stars. The writing was great. I really enjoyed the first person narration. And what else did I say? Oh yeah, I thought this would make me cry because I've heard a lot about this book prior to reading it and how it was very emotional for some people and relatable, but like maybe I was not the target audience, which would make sense. But I didn't cry. I remember, being a little sad at the end. Maybe I cried a little bit, I don't know, but I didn't cry during the novel, that's for sure. Did I take some notes at all? I did. There were some good quotes in there. And for those who don't know, this is a story of 2 men in Paris. What happens after that? Yeah, it's 2 men in Paris that, are in love, but they can't because it's the 1950s. And it's very sad. It's very focused on sadness. And, the book opens up with the saddest part of it, in my opinion, and closes with the beginning, basically, or ends with the beginning. I would recommend it if you're into queer stories because this is definitely a pillar of queer literature. But it's not my favorite queer story of the year for sure that I've read. That would be Maurice. I love Maurice. I need to reread that. Maybe in January. We'll see. Anyways, got sidetracked. So, did I have anything else to say for my quarterly recap number 3? I got a cat. That was the first of 2. Now I have 2. They're both taking a nap right now, but I have a big cat, a 4-year-old cat, and I have a baby cat, 4 months. So I think that's it. I would have probably said, oh, I'm leaving on my trip, I'm going to Europe, I'm going to see my parents, but that's so long gone now. Like, you can just go see the vlogs if you're interested. I had a lot of fun and I saw a lot of pretty things, so you should go check it out. The next book I read at the end of, wait a minute. So actually, I'm mistaken. This isn't the last book I read before I filmed my video in October. It was this. It was Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. Or Daphne du Maurier. I'm not sure how it's supposed to be pronounced in English or in French. I know she's not French, but the name is giving French. So, yes, because I read this, I finished this 3rd week of September, so it would have been before October. Yeah, I got my months mixed up. I gave this a 4.5. It is great. I loved this because it's a woman fighting for herself, for her relationship, and I don't know, like, it's just, a lot of people say this is romantic. I don't think this was romantic at all. This was more an exploration of self for the new wife, because this is a story of this new wife, which we don't know her name. It's they never mention her name, but she is haunted by Rebecca, which is the ex-wife. And what happened to the ex-wife is she disappeared at sea, and the husband just never really talks about her, doesn't really want to bring her up ever. And throughout the story we learn why that's the case, and it's just really great storytelling. I found this copy in a little free library and I really liked it, but the copy I read was this, which I had bought at a secondhand bookstore. So now I have 2 copies and I'm really happy about it because I really love this book. So highly recommend. I would say read this. I think I read this in the perfect period. This is like a spookier novel because it's, an ex-wife haunting the current wife, not literally but figuratively. So I would say read this around September, October. Yes, keep that for that period of the year. Okay, now we're officially done for real with the third recap. If we continue, we would be at Utopia by Thomas More. I underlined a lot of things. This book kind of changed my perspective on a lot of things, mainly capitalism and socialism. I would have given this a 5-star if it weren't for the way it talks about women and slaves, but considering this was written in the 1500s, a 4 will suffice. This isn't really a story, it's more of a count or a recount. I'm not sure how you say that in English, but it's, you know, just this man telling the story of another man to this other man. It's just a little circle, and the story is basically the travel to Utopia and what it looked like. And Utopia, as we know in modern languages, is just like a paradise, a perfect place, and this is what is described in this book. But it is described not as like you would imagine, like an island with like blue skies and just whatever your utopia may be. This is really a political utopia. People all dress the same, all have the same things, everyone works the same hours, everyone has free food. There's a lot of parallels between capitalist society and this utopian society, and it's very, very interesting. I would recommend anyone that's into politics to read this. My next read is on my Kobo, and oops, I don't know if I'll be able to open it up because I took this with, yeah. Can I open up the picture? No, okay. Well, that's fine. I borrowed this with my Libby, with the Libby app. This is how you lose the Time War. I'm realizing this isn't even the highest brightness, but whatever. And I read this while I was in London. It was like everything that I did not expect in a book, basically. It's almost non-linear. The characters don't really have names, they're colors. They see each other in nature because one is blue and one is red, so one is the sky and one is the roses, and it's just like very, very poetic, very romantic. But there is a war, a time war, as it says in the title, and it's just it's queer. It's not very explicitly said, but I'm pretty sure it was, and I really enjoyed it despite my confusion throughout the whole thing. Let me see what I wrote as a review. I gave it 4 stars. I wrote, never read anything like this. I loved it, but I am left with so many questions and doubts that I can't give this a perfect score. A queer sci-fi love story that transcends time and place. I wish this was longer. I needed more. Yeah. It was really short. I read this I started it before leaving from here for my trip, and I finished it the second week of October. Then I finally finished the 4th tome of The Count of Monte-Cristo. I'm not gonna talk about that one because I still have to finish the 6th tome, the 6th and last tome. I know I said in like my second quarterly recap that I'd finish this book this year. I don't think I'll have time. It's currently December 29th, and I am reading a book currently, which I'll talk about at the end of this video. So I think that'll be my last book for the year, and I'll have to finish The Count of Monte-Cristo next year, which is totally okay. It's totally okay. My next book that I read, which is confusing, but yes, was Frankenstein. I saw the movie in theaters, I fell asleep, I rewatched it on Netflix, I really enjoyed it, so I thought I should read the book, and it was completely different from the movie. Completely different. But it was great. I wasn't necessarily the most hooked by this piece of literature, but it is a classic, and now I know more about the monster and its creator. So I think everyone knows what the story is about. It's this doctor who decides to create eternal life by piecing together dead people, and creates the monster, who is clearly just a child in the body of a grown adult, but it's very sweet. It's very sweet. But I'm like, because I read this so close to watching the film, it's kind of mixed in my head, the two stories. So I don't really want to venture into what the differences are or aren't, because I'm pretty sure I would get confused and I would be wrong. So I'll just put this down and recommend it for my sci-fi lovers. I would recommend it. The next books I read, I'm just gonna talk about all three at once, even though I didn't read them back to back to back. Okay, let me preface. I did not know anything about these books. I heard about the TV show maybe a week or two, a month at most, before it came out. I'm talking obviously about Heated Rivalry. Yes. And so I watched, I think, the first 2 episodes when they released. At first I was like, this is not for me, and I shut down my laptop. And then I reopened it because I was like, okay, I'll just finish an episode. And then I actually enjoyed it. So the week between episode 2 and 3, I was like, okay, I need to know what happens before, like, the show is over. Like, I want to read the books before finishing the show. So I read Game Changer, which is the story about the couple in episode 3. And then I read Heated Rivalry. And then most recently I read The Long Game, which will be what season 2 is based on. So now I know the full thing, and I wouldn't say they're great books. I would say the TV show definitely is better. I don't know why. It's like, actually, you know what? I think reading and seeing the show kind of gives you the full package, because you get the inside thoughts, and then on the show you get the external thoughts, which are great too. And they're very, very, like, one-to-one, I want to say, like 90% of the time. So it's not a huge difference, but it's nice to know what goes on inside their heads as well. And for my last 2 books of the year, minus the one I'm currently reading, we have Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste. This I have had in my pile of books here for, I want to say, a year or 2, maybe a year. And I finally read it because I asked on Twitter, I asked my friends, I was like, should I read this? And people were like, yeah, it's really good. So I thought it was going to be really good, but I was kind of bored for, I want to say, 70% of the book. And then I enjoyed it. But that's all I really have to say about this. It's just, I don't even know where to begin to explain the story, because it's so many things intertwined together. But the main plot is basically this mysterious woman who has 1 child, and she's kind of broke, but she lives in this kind of richer city neighborhood place. And this neighbor is kind of, like, suspicious of her for whatever reason, and maybe a little jealous even, because she, the mother does art, and she's also a journalist. So she goes on this hunt to find out more about this woman, and she finds out a lot of things, a lot of risky things. And I'm not gonna say more, but if that sounds like your cup of tea, then I recommend it. Apparently there's a show which I don't think I'll watch, but I guess if you've seen the show, then read this. And finally, I want a little Christmas spirit, so I read Christmas Carol by the one and only Charles Dickens. This was my first Charles Dickens, and I think this is very funny. The way he writes is very fun. It's super easy to read, even for being written in what, the 1800s. Yeah, it's like very fun, very sweet. I had no idea he was the the creator of the Ghosts of Christmas, past, future, present. Had no clue. So this was fun to learn. This felt like a little piece of literature history and movie history that I stumbled upon, because I also got this in a free little library, and I desperately need to go put some of my books in there because I keep taking them, but I never have anything on me, obviously. So like, I should take a few and share. Lastly, which I believe I'll be able to finish by the 31st, is We by, oh my god, please tell me his name is on the back here. It's not. Okay. It's We by Yevgeny Zamyatin. This is what inspired Orwell's 1984. There's even a quote by Orwell on the back that says, "This is a book to look out for." And so far, I think it's very different from 1984. I see the inspiration, obviously, because the themes of, the one state and some of the words are very similar, but it's completely different. I guess it's not, because there is a love story brewing. I'm about 10 chapters in, 50 something pages, and this is really good. Like, I'm hooked. This is really, really good. I'm really enjoying this. This is Russian literature, so this is fun. And this translation is by Natasha Rendall and was translated in, I think, 1952. Wait, no. Oh, it actually doesn't say when this was translated. Oh, no, it does. 2006. So it's a pretty recent and modern translation. So yeah, I'm excited to finish this. I will let you know, I guess. Maybe I'll record another clip. So I just finished We by Yevgeny Zamyatin last night on the 31st. Today's the 1st of January. I had no time. Oh my god, no! My cat's gonna drink my tea. Or maybe not. Okay, anyways. So I just finished this last night, and to be honest, I haven't had the time to really think about this since last night, like about my thoughts. As soon as I finished it, I gave it 4 stars because, he did try to drink my tea, so he's gonna be here for a minute. What was I saying? So I just finished this last night, right? And because I finished it last night, I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. I did not have time to write a review yet, so I don't know what I'll be writing, but what I know is there's a theme throughout this book. They say the words clear, transparent so many times, and I know it means something, and I know what it means, but I feel like I have to unpack it before talking about it. This, in regards to 1984, I feel like is quite different. There's no concept of like certain words being banned or books being banned. Like, there's none of that. The main character is a writer. That's how you read the story, is through his basically journal entries. He calls them records, and there's about 30 of them. Oh, almost 40 of them. And they're very short. They're about 2 to 5 pages each, and they all are a different day. So this is basically a story told over around a month and a half, I want to say. And it is dystopian, but I found it very engaging. I wanted to read more and more and more. It wasn't boring. It was never flat. It was always, I wouldn't say action packed, but everything that the main character talked about, a lot of it was left in suspense. Like, the sentences sometimes wouldn't finish. It would be like the three dots. He also talks a lot about math and as a math major, I thought it was very fun. I liked understanding what he was saying. There's this one chapter where he talks about the square root of -1, and I found it so interesting because he never gives the answer to what the square root of -1 is, but as I think everyone, I don't know when we learn this fact, if it's in CJEP or in uni. I feel like it's probably in CJEP. I don't know if we see it in high school, but square root of -1 is an irrational number, and the letter they use to refer to this irrational number is I. So it's really interesting if you decide to read this by replacing that square root with the pronoun I. It makes for a very interesting chapter. But my thing now is this translation. This is translated from the Russian language, so I don't know how it truly translates. A lot of things that I was interpreting, I was like, okay, this makes sense if this was written in English. I don't know if it makes sense in the Russian language, but since I can't read Russian, I can't compare, and I don't know if the translator, who I said was Natasha Randall, like I don't know if she took into account all of these little nuances. I feel like she probably did, but again, there's no way for me to confirm. So I would say this is very, very interesting. If you like to peel through your text and kind of go deep into the meanings of every little thing, this is a very fun book to do it with. The only thing, again, like I said, is I don't know if it is intentional with the English translation or if I'm just making stuff up. But I really liked it. I see why Orwell was inspired, how he was inspired, and I started the book and I had a pen in my hand and I was writing things down in it, and see, this is the chapter. It's record 8 with the square root of -1, and I wrote a bunch of things. I thought, as soon as I saw it, I thought metaphor for the single self, but I don't know if it translates to Russian. I don't know. Highly recommend, though. On that note, I wish you all a happy new year. This was officially my last book of 2025, and for 2026, I am keeping my reading plans under wraps, but you'll see soon enough what I'll be reading. So, see you soon. I actually feel like I did this too fast. I thought this was going to be like an hour-long video, and now I feel like it's not long enough. But